Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Backstage Bikini podcast with your hosts, Grace and Jade. And on today's podcast, we have been dying to get her on. She is a Bikini Olympian, but has just recently made the switch to wellness. I think everybody knows who we're talking about. We have our eyes stuck on her page recently, keeping up with her updates. And she's our first French, isn't it? French guest. So yeah, it is Alison Testu. Welcome to the podcast, Alison. How are you keeping?
Thank you so much. I am going perfect. And just to update you, because in 2023, I was starting my transition for wellness, but I changed my mind. I changed my mind.
Interesting.
Yes. So if you want, we're going to speak about that.
Okay.
But yes, I just renounced to wellness because it was a lot more complicated than I expected. And I will tell you why if you want.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
absolutely.
That's not what we were expecting at all, because we were like, all the questions were about the switch. And even one of the questions was like, how are you finding it? Because it is quite difficult. And I think a lot of people underestimate how challenging it is, like actually going up a class. Like, you see how big those girls are, but that's a bit of a shock for Jade and I. Makes the podcast very spicy.
it's actually really I'm actually really glad you've said that, Alison, because obviously, like Grace and I, we had questions around sort of making that transition, like she's just said, and underestimating perhaps, and then the training style differences, and then the growth that's required. So we can still pick your brains about it. Because it'll be helpful. But I suppose just to introduce yourself to the listeners, if they're not glued to your Instagram page like Grace and I have been for so long, how did you get into bodybuilding? What's your training background? How did you find the sport? And was being a Olympian athlete always the goal for you?
So in fact, when I started fitness, not bodybuilding first, but fitness, I started because my husband found me in a very bad position on a health point of view. So he was already a men's physique amateur, but I was just not a sport girl at all. I was not eating a lot, so without any eating disorder, but just I was not eating enough. So I was really, I had a lot of deficiency, for example, iron, zinc, everything, but it went very bad for my health. So my husband told me, you should start maybe taking care of the inside, just eat a kind of diet just to balance your health better, and start to work out also because you are skinny but fat. So I was like, okay, maybe. So I started to work out. So for 1 month, so he did my workout plan and everything. And after 1 month, he offered me the coaching with his coach, which is Team MHD. So this is still my coach now. So I started like this, and maybe 3 months after I started to work out and do a diet, my coach and my husband told me, you should start maybe a competition. And I was like, me? No, no, it's too girly for me. I am not eating that type of food. So no, perfect. And finally, I jumped into a competition 9 months later, and I placed very bad because the shape was bad, posing was bad, makeup was bad, shoes were bad, everything was bad. So finally, I was so like, not upset of the classification, but upset about myself because I was looking so bad. I was like, okay, I want to look better. So I just took 1 year growing season to come back and do a second contest 1 year later. And it was the Arnold Classic Europe. And I ended in the 9th place. So I was like, okay, how I can be better? And then I finished until being an Olympian exactly like this. So it was not my goal to go to the Olympia, but at each competition I did, I was like, okay, I was not enough. How I can be better? And this mindset type of lead me to the Olympia, just like by hazard and kind of.
That's amazing. Because I think I fell into the sport very much, like very similar. Like it was sort of people were doing it around me, so I thought, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. Did you look at fine, like off the street, no idea what I was getting myself in for. But did you mentioned the Arnold Classic in Europe? Was it always the NPC sort of IFBB route that you went down, or did you go into different federations?
It was from the IFBB, so I stayed from 2016, the first competition I did, to 2019 in IFBB, and I get the pro card, elite pro card in IFBB. And I decided to switch to NPC in 2020 during the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's crazy because I have been following you since the IFBB elite days. Because the posing that I did in my first show is very, very similar. So you were one of the first competitors that I followed, but I always thought that those two federations were very different in terms of the look. I think the upper body, I don't know, was it maybe a posing thing or whatever, but I always thought it was a lot bigger. How did you find that transition going from that federation to the IFBB? Because it is a different look, but it's also different, like stage presence, the bikinis are different, the posing is very different, it's a lot more relaxed. So how did you find that transition mentally with yourself?
At the beginning, I was a little bit frustrated because I always liked a lot the IFBB posing. I think it was really graceful and it was really pleasing to show all the muscles when you are doing the posing, for example, the back and the quads especially. So jumping into NPC was frustrating because you keep your hair in the back, and even the back pose, I found at the first instance it was a little bit tendentious for the NPC back pose, because you know how IFBB we just stay straight in every pose. So the transition was hard because also the bikini cut, which is a Russian cut, was it's a lot more flattering the body if you don't have the fake boobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was a lot of details like this that was a little bit frustrating, but finally I was really happy to jump into NPC because I did the World Championships Pro in IFBB Elite, and I noticed that even for the sponsors or for the money or everything, there was nothing more for the athletes. At the moment you reach the top level of the IFBB Elite, there is nothing more.
Yeah.
So
you see it happen a lot, don't you?
Yeah.
I think am I correct in saying that Evie was also in IFBB Elite, and did you get the pro card in the same show? Am I correct in saying that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
She won the overall. So actually that's really funny because Ivana was my best friend in the competition area since my beginning in IFBB. So we were competing against each other, not in amateur because there is the 8 categories, but in professional we were always fighting together. And we did the transition exactly the same day. And she won the overall exactly, the same day that I got my pro card with her.
Yeah, it was incredible because I think when you're an amateur and then obviously you were at the top of your game in the other federation, but there's loads of people rooting for a pro card that, haven't got to the top there. And I remember I just saw you and I was like, wow, that is the standard, to win a pro card. It was kind of the first time I'd seen it. And that's when I was like, right, I'm making the move to NPC as well. So it was a big inspiration when I saw the two of you. Yeah. But I suppose what was like when you did make the move, what were your biggest struggles in doing that and adjusting your physique to it? Because like you said, there is a little bit more quads. Like I think with your back, you can kind of adjust the posing a little bit more, but the leg development is definitely a little bit different. So how did you find that transition with your physique? Did you have to change anything up crazy?
Yes, exactly. I had to change all the workouts because actually for IFBB, we don't need so much tithing, for example. We just need the pitch glutes look. So we don't need to have long insertion in the glutes. And the point is that this is really cool, this type of thing in IFBB, because it can adapt to each anatomy, if you understand what I mean. The problem in NPC is that if you don't have that much long tithing, and if it's not your genetic, you can stretch as much as you want, but you will probably never have the long insertion because some girls get shorter and some girls get longer. So that was a little bit complicated because I know mine are very short. So I was really stressed about this tithing because I was like, okay, even with stretching or doing very deep movement at the gym, they are not so long. So I was like, maybe it will not pass. And finally, after a few years of experience in NPC, I noticed that they don't necessarily want long insertion. They just want small tithing.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. Second thing was the bikini, because I did not have breast implant. I was really afraid that the triangle cut was like flattening everything and cutting the X-frame. And for the back, yes, I just needed to relax on stage, but I did not do it. I was just posing exactly like IFBB on the first show when I got the pro card. So the feedback of the judge was like, you won the pro card because the shape is great, but maybe the upper body you have to do something to relax. Or I was like, oh, okay. Because in IFBB we were really showing all the muscles on the pose, and in NPC they don't want too much. So that was complicated. And actually, why I did this transition to NPC, because I was hearing a lot of negative commentary on the IFBB Elite Pro athletes. So all the people which were commenting the IFBB Elite Pro athlete, they were saying they are not really pros because they will not go to the Olympia, so they are not good. And at the moment, I was frustrated because I think that if you are a good athlete, you can compete in any federation you want because you know how to change your body to fit it. And the point is that I remember that we were two bikinis from Elite Pro and two wellness from Elite Pro competing on the same day, getting the pro card in NPC in one shot. So I was like, fuck them. I was so happy.
There was so much, and I think it still circulates now, doesn't it? That message, even it's ironic that you heard it back then and made an adjustment in terms of where you were heading at that time, because you still hear it now. There very much is still a reputation held with the IFBB.
That's crazy. And you know that Valeria Fedorenko,
same.
She was in IFBB. So that's crazy. And even the Open, Michel Krizanek, he is from IFBB Elite Pro, and also the black guy, Nick Zila. I don't know if you see him with the big trapezium.
Yes.
He compete in Prague. He was in IFBB Elite Pro also. And all that athletes like just line and line.
Yeah, they really have. And I know I did Norway last year with NPC, and the girl that won had competed in, I don't know if she was a pro, but she had competed in the Elite Pro, and her muscle density, and it was just incredible, you know, and I couldn't stand a chance. But anybody that does have that background generally kind of does shoot up when they move to the IFBB. And same with federations over here, like the PCA, it's very, very similar, isn't it? Like, because they have, I think that because they look for a little bit more muscle, that when you move to the IFBB, it's just like perfect, you know, it's the right amount.
Exactly. They have already the background being in pro in another federation, so finally it gets a little bit easier.
So you've spoken a little bit about posing as well there, Alison, like what you struggled, especially with the back pose. Like what adjustments or how long did it take you to bed into the NPC? Because obviously with your feedback being like relax, it must have felt so alien to you. So how did you find making those adjustments? Did it take a while for it to settle in for you?
Yes, it took a while actually. I did not want it so much to relax on stage because I was really proud of holding my muscles, and I did not want to relax because I think that this is not posing if you want to hide everything. I think posing is made to show everything you got, but not hide everything you have. So that was really frustrating. But when I joined Team Atlas, so I joined Team Atlas for 3 months only, and it taught me all the mistakes I was doing with my posing because I wanted to show too much, not too much, but what I was. And finally, that was my mistake. So that was, for example, why I was placing a little bit slower, because I was too dry also, but showing too much muscle. So he explained me how to relax, and only now I know that I have to hide some body parts.
Yeah.
But yes, it's an everyday problem, I think.
Yeah, it really is a difficult thing, because I'd be the same. I loved showing off my back, and you want to feel like you're bringing a really, really good physique. But there's also the criteria as well that is so strict these days, and they're honing in on it. And it's the finer details, doesn't it, that matter when you get to the Olympia stage. And yeah, I can imagine how frustrating it must have been. Like, was there any point that you kind of got, I suppose, feedback from the judges all the time that you were posing too harsh, more so kind of with your upper body or anything like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was pushing my upper body too hard, and also because I got the conditioning that was too hard all the time for bikini, it was like double mistake. So I was all the time like failing. But when I was trying to soften my condition with my coach, and then not posing at all, just putting the end like this and waiting, that was the contest where I won my qualification for the Olympia.
Wow.
But that's frustrating, because 5 minutes before going on stage, I was crying because I was eating like ice cream, dairy products, just to put a kind of soft condition.
Soft, yeah.
Yes.
Because I must imagine, like, because we observe it quite a lot. So being from Europe as well, so your competing seasons and you're seeing in terms of where you were showing up at shows, the conditioning in Europe tends to be much harder, much denser. Yeah, very much so. So psychologically for you as well, Alison, like, how has it been trying to adjust your physique to fit the bikini criteria as they're trying to keep it now? Because obviously we'll talk about your sort of move slightly away for a period of time to wellness and sort of feeding that feedback into your decision making. What was it like to have to soften and to have to try and mold yourself to this division? Because you stand out more than anyone really as a person that's really had to mold themselves as opposed to just presenting who they are. How's that been?
It was a little bit complicated, because, as you said, in Europe, they really want like a little bit more stacked physique. Like they really don't see the criteria like they see it in USA. For example, when they say no striation on bikini, they say no striation on bikini. So the point is that when I was bringing a little bit more condition before, and striation and everything, it could pass in Europe.
Yeah.
And still right now, I see, for example, Valeria, she has a lot of striation on the quadriceps. Even when she walks, we can see it, even on stage. But she keeps winning and winning and winning and winning, which is great, because I love this type of physique. But when she went to the Olympia, she finished top 15, 50, top 50. And I was like, but she did not make the change between her shape in Europe and in USA. She came equal.
Yeah.
For us, it was a little bit different, because when I take the plane, I lose weight a lot. So finally, I came from Europe being a tiny little bit more stacked to a girl who were a little bit, a little bit more slim and flat. And finally, for the judges in USA, they like it, and they put me in the second call out for my 2 Olympias. So it was more like my genetic, which decided to shrink a little bit down. And finally it passed. But for next time, I know that I'm going to have to stop my prep at my usual 3 weeks out to get the American look. Because for the Pittsburgh Pro I did, when I finished 6th, I got the look of the 3 weeks out, and they said perfect conditioning. And I was speaking with my coach, I was saying like, perfect conditioning. I could hold my water retention under the glutes, and I was like, perfect.
Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? Like, because I would have been the same of what I would assumed stepping on stage is like really, really lean. But when you're at the top and they're honing on the criteria so much now, like it can just seem like it's a completely different category altogether from what you, I suppose, imagined it to be. But that is mad. And I suppose going over to when you, like you said, they stop at a kind of 3 weeks out now, and that's what you suggest. And it kind of reminds me of, do you know Amy Delgado? Because she has to kind of she has to pull back on her training, and it's kind of mad things that you have to do, like complete opposite from what you would assume that you'd have to do in a prep or an off season and stuff. But in terms of your training, like, does that change much in a prep scenario? Because I feel like your upper body has toned down a little bit more, but I suppose in terms of like a prep scenario, would you pull back in training kind of similar to Amy? And in terms of the food, like you said, do you eat a little bit more in prep and a little bit less in off season? So how does that look in terms of those things?
So in terms of those things, like for example, for the workouts, I did not train my upper body since the end of 2021.
No way.
So no shoulders, no arms, no triceps, no back. Since 2021, I got my breast surgery. And the time after my breast surgery, I got a prep of 10 weeks out for the Arnold, Ohio. Wow. And when I was looking at the picture and the video still now, I was so stacked from the upper body, even without training. I was like, how it's possible? I was huge, so they put me in the last position. But since that time, I don't touch at all the upper body. Even like I cannot do push-ups or nothing. I don't do nothing. And even when I have, for example, to cook, I ask my husband to mix the things because they really like it. But then I will speak about my transition for wellness, because the shoulders, they are really liking every type of stimulus. But the legs, no. And not the legs. The legs, they don't move. They don't grow, the legs. But yes, I just train actually for bikini, glutes, calves, and hamstrings since the end of 2021. And for the diet, I always eat a lot in off season for maintenance. It's like more or less around 3,000 calories. And I don't need a lot of food down to be ready. But the point is that I cannot eat more than a certain amount of food in off season, because if I eat a little bit more, I just progress. So that's complicated sometimes. I just have to maintain, don't see any progress, and just start the cut on this base. So that's a little bit frustrating. But for the transition for wellness, I was really happy because I could train the quadriceps. Since the first time since 2 years and a half or so, but still don't touch the upper body at all. So the same.
Crazy.
But yes, but the quadriceps, they did not want it to grow. We changed the techniques. We reduced the volume of the workouts. We increased the food on the quad day. We put less set, more set, cluster set, everything. But the quad, they don't answer. So I understood it was possibly not my genetic. I was not made for this, and probably made for figure, because I don't have to do nothing for the upper body and it grows. But I don't want figure, because it's particular, because my husband is very short, the same height than me. So I don't imagine like him being a men's physique and me like being like this. It's like it's not so sexy. It's not so sexy.
I think it's an interesting one, that as well, because I favor bikini for that reason as well. I find it very feminine. You can carry your in-season body and your off-season body fairly close, or certainly at an elite level, and you're talking like Olympian athletes are very, very close. So I much prefer that. But going back to your genetics as well, Alison, like, in terms of before you made the decision to go into wellness, what was it in terms of decision making that made you think, actually, I don't want to stifle myself here and sit here? Was it because you couldn't do the training you wanted and eat the types of food? Because that's incredibly restrictive from a training standpoint, which you've obviously learned to love over the years. and then having to limit your calories near enough all year round, whether you're in off season or prep. So what were the driving factors initially for that decision?
That was just after joining Team Atlas. I hope he will not listen to the podcast. He's a great guy. He's really nice to take care of the athletes. But during 3 months, he did exactly what I needed for bikini, shrink me down. So I lost so much muscle, so much weight. I was eating almost nothing just to put the body in a warning state, like just not losing weight, not gaining weight, nothing, just stable. And I became so frustrated, not about food because I can handle low food, but because of the workout. It was even worse than before. I could train glutes, but only on frontal movements, not diagonal, not angles, just frontal. So all the kickback, they were like, and that's all. Because he told me I got wide hips. Yes. But the problem is that if you put your maximum potential glutes on wide hips, it's already too much for bikini. Even if you don't have a lot of muscles, it's too much because you are like. So it
that's mental. That, like you're really left with nothing then. Like you said, your calves, and it's just like that must have taken its toll on you a bit mentally, did it, Alison? Like not being able to train.
Yes. It's so frustrating because I remember the moment when I started the gym, it was to take care of my health first. And then I jumped into competing just to see what happened. So in September now, I realized why I started. It was because I wanted to be healthy, because I wanted to have a shape that pleased my eye first. And I was like, okay, why I am doing this? First of all, why I am shrinking down for bikini, because I even posted no picture of the Olympia or no video of the Olympia 2022, because I was feeling like, this is not me, this girl. She's looking like this, she's ugly, she's skinny, she's dying. And she was still second call out. And I was like looking the last call out of the Olympia. And I did say to myself, I want to be like them. But they don't win, they don't place, but I want to be like them, like Valeria, Octavia, for example, Francesca, Stoico, strong women. But the point is that they were all at the end. And me, I wanted to feel proud of being second call out. But when I look all the picture was like, this is second call out. So yes, it was really frustrating. So that's why I decided to make the move or try to make the move to wellness, because I remember James told me I got wide hips, so I was like, maybe if I train really hard, I could put more muscle on this lower body. Maybe it's like shoulders can grow, but in fact, just the glutes grow, but not the hamstring, not the quads. I am like quite longer. So the problem is that I cannot put that much muscle naturally on that shape. So I knew I would have to take the other things like that the wellness take. But when I hear the protocols, I was like, I will never be able to do that. Particularly in off-season, it means that in off-season, you have to take some things that are really deep. And then in prep also, but then after you prep, you have to still take if you don't want to lose the muscle. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe not.
Because it's a big commitment. I think you hit the nail on the head, Alison. You're answering to your genetics, really, aren't you? If there's a genetic predisposition there and your body's going that way, then maybe rationale could come in and be like, right, actually, my body is tailored to do this, but it might need a little bit of a push. But I think if you're fighting against your body, and fundamentally the reason you got into this sport is for health reasons, so to compromise your health in order to achieve a certain look, was that the line where you was just like, no, I'm simply not prepared to do that?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the line. I was like understanding I really need to take the things I did not want to take, and I was like, okay, wait, my genetics don't want, like the legs don't grow. Will I be able to push things like more than the girl that got the years of training? The genetic also,
Mm-hmm.
certainly not, because they take a lot already with the genetics and with the background. And I was like, no, never. But I was like, and maybe for figure, yes, maybe I did not have to take a lot of things to grow because they are growing already naturally. But I was like, will the look please your eyes, please your everyday life? Not. So I realized that maybe it's not so bad. Okay, maybe I didn't want the people to give up on the transition for wellness, but I was like, this is not bad. You go back to bikini, you failed. You cannot succeed every time. You failed, you go back, and it will be okay. You go back to bikini, but bikini as you want. So I just took the problem in the other side. I was like, okay, how did you do in the past to get your qualification for the Olympia? Just eat ice cream 1 week before the stage. Don't train, don't pump on stage, don't pose. And finally, you can keep your muscles all the year round, but just do some things before the stage. Just flatten everything, and that was okay. So I decided, I need to stay in bikini, not losing the muscle, but just doing some adjustment before going on stage would be better.
Yeah, I love that. And standing true to yourself and what you believe in. And one of our questions was like, was your heart always with bikini? And it definitely seems like it was as well. And I think people know when they're getting into the sport, like where they want to go. And like Jade said, then it's like a genetics thing that kind of pushes you forward. But I'm interested about the training, because obviously, like you said, you hadn't trained quads since 2021, but when you did the the wellness transition, I presume you were doing like what, 3 leg days a week? Like, how was your recovery with that? Because it was so different. I can imagine that took its toll on your body.
Yes, it was really hard. At the beginning, we started with a 6 weeks cycle for workouts. So we start with just relearning the movement, because I forgot what was a squat, what was a deadlift, what was the leg press and everything, leg extension. So I was relearning the movement with small weight, just long repetition, and we were just doing that. Then for the second cycle, we just tried to lower the volume and increase the intensity, and everything was perfect. But at the third cycle, then I started getting some troubles. So I was feeling that my joints, so my wrists, were like hurting a lot. And it was not from upper body workout, because I was not training upper body. So it was just the fact of holding the weight in my hands for my legs workout. And I was like, okay, not so good. And then it was the knees that were hurting a lot. So I tried to buy protection, but even with the protection, I got pain as fuck in the knee. And I was like, God, I'm not even not putting a lot of weight now. I don't do squat with 150 kilos like Francière. I'm doing squat with 60 kilos, and my knee is painful. I was like, okay. So the point is that everything put together, I was like realizing this was not for me.
No.
Because the point is that I think wellness is for the girls that are shorter, for sure, but who got big joints, like they are able, like the horses.
Strong joints, like
big bones.
I just look at their training and I think I just couldn't train like that or like that heavy, because my knees as well are such a limiting factor. And I think that's the thing when it comes to choosing a category, is there's just so many things to think about. And there's definitely listeners of the podcast who are like, because it happens all the time, people want to make the transition, but they don't consider that. Like you said, they might not be lifting very heavy in the gym, and they're like, oh, I want to move to wellness. And like, they train so incredibly hard. It's a massive commitment as well, training legs that frequently, on your recovery. So you have to be prepared to kind of make that training your whole life, really. Like you're training like a bodybuilder, and bikini training is it kind of different, but like it's very fatiguing, the wellness thing. So yeah, that's honestly crazy. But yeah, in terms of the advice to anybody, just speaking of the listeners, like, what would be your biggest piece of advice? We'll go back to obviously what you're doing now, but anybody who is in that boat that wants to move to wellness, what would your biggest piece of advice be?
Okay, so they can try, because I think that if I never tried, for example, I would never know. So I will have this in mind, like asking, what happened if? So I think that if they want to do the transition, they just have to try, just to check if their genetic is made for this, if their body is answering good, if they are ready to understand that if they want to compete, for example, with the minimum products. It's complicated because this is not what the Olympians do. I think that no, I don't see any wellness natural. This is not possible. But the problem is that they take a lot, but they take a lot of different things, and all put together, it makes you, yes, evolve. But I think it's a devil pact. I think, because if you want to stay competitive, you have to improve every year, and you have to keep the same protocol every year. So it's like, I think it's deserve to be lived, to be understood. So obviously, luckily, I did not make the protocol the other wellness do. But at the moment when I was supposed to start doing big things, I was like, okay, what? No, not me. So I quit.
Run away.
Yes, I felt on the paper, okay, I can do that. It's not so much. And once receiving, I was like, no, I'm not able. So,
but that's incredibly honest of you as well, Alison. Like, I think we have a lot of listeners that are listening to this podcast that are brand new competitors, and the entry into this sport now, in terms of what protocols are out there, whether that be assistance, whether that be other avenues, training, whatever, there's so many different ways to skin a cat. And especially from a performance enhancement standpoint, I do feel like it is we've referred to it as a band-aid before. So making that consideration and thinking about whether you actually want to go down that route for a prolonged period of time in order to stay competitive, that's an incredibly sort of truthful position to take for yourself and your own body. But in terms of a message out to the listeners, it's so important, because it's so easy, isn't it, to fall foul of that, or to be enticed in, because you almost said, oh yeah, it doesn't look that bad. So how easy would it have been for you to make that decision?
Yes, it was actually, it was not easy, and I was feeling bad renouncing. Like, I even said to Jordan, so because you are from UK, I think you know Jordan, but
JP,
I was even apologizing to Jordan, sending him a text telling him, sorry, I think I will not keep going my transition, because I think the things I need to take down for me, I don't feel good with it at all. And he told me, no, okay, it's okay. I support you. And I was like feeling really, really happy to be considered into a team, because I know that with some of the brands, maybe they will say, okay, she will disappoint people, so we don't need her anymore, because I changed my mind. But he said, no, I agree with you. You are a woman, you want to stay a woman, you want to be healthy, so keep doing your thing. And the point is that I was expecting that, for example, because I was more muscular than the bikini, I was expecting, like, for example, if I do just a little bit more that the bikini are doing, I was like, maybe transforming myself into wellness. I was dreaming. I was hoping it could be a bikini protocol on me, but no.
Yeah.
But it's good to realize, and I think it's okay just to make some mistakes, to believe that we can do something else, try and realize it's not so
and you've been competing for so long, like, you know the game and you know what's involved. But how long did you, when you made the transition, like how long were you willing to commit to that before stepping on stage? Like, did you have a timeline in your head of maybe like 2 years, 3 years, or was it much longer than that?
Exactly. I wanted, in the best case, 2 or 3 years, but after 9 months, I was like realizing that I reached a kind of plateau. So actually, my shape did not become a small wellness, but it became the maximum bikini I could be. But after this plateau, the gap between the big, very full bikini that trains the quadriceps and everything, the gap between this and the wellness, it was so huge because, of course, I wanted to see a contest with the Wellness Pro. So for the first time, I was not on stage. I was just seeing as a spectator. And I noticed that, okay, in backstage, they look smaller than they are on stage, actually. But they still have a quad projection, which is fucking crazy. So the glutes is okay. I think the glutes is okay because a lot of wellness have more legs than they got the glutes. They are really qualitative, but they don't got too big glutes. So this part I was like feeling okay, this, but the legs no. So I realized after 9 months, it could take me like with that fucking genetic for legs. It was not 2 years. I was like, okay, maybe I will need 5 or 10. But not natural. So 5 or 10 years, not natural.
I know. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. It's sorry, guys. It's just such a huge gap. And I think even as amateurs, you see people stepping on stage with a wellness physique. And I'm going to say wellness physique because the reality of it is a lot of it is just body fat. And you can create that depth, I guess, across the legs and things like that. But in order to actually get the physique where you're going to be competitive, you have to be lean, very lean and very dense, and the muscle has to be there. And if it's just not going on your frame, Alison, there's nothing really that you can do to fight that if your genetics are like, no, thank you.
No.
And I suppose
or I could take a lot, but I think the things in the inside would be totally fine.
See, the reality is like you were a pro and you want to move to wellness, so you're going to the pro wellness. It's not like you're starting again, because you probably would do very, very well in the amateur, and you probably would get your pro card, you know, in a couple of years if you did work hard. But it's like you said, it's a big transition when you get into the pro league and wanting to get the Olympia, and you can't. It's hard then, I'm sure, you know, being at the Olympia as a bikini athlete, to go in at the very, very bottom of the pile, not knowing if you're actually kind of progress all that far. And I'm sure, how old are you now, if you mind me asking? Like you're still in your 20s. 33. Okay.
Me too.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, but it's thinking about those things, like you said, another 5 years you would have been in your late 30s. So it's like, these are the things you need to think about, really. And is it going to take much, like with the advice from your coach, is it going to take long to, I suppose, pull back to bikini with the physique? Because it's only been 9 months, so I wouldn't say it's been all that crazy. Like, what's the plan of action going forward to kind of pull it back a little bit more?
So in September, I told him, okay, no, I don't want any more stuff. He told me, okay, I totally agree with you. I support you. I did not told you anything, but I would not believe you could become a wellness. But I decided to follow what you want, because he was my coach since the number 1. So I came back with him, but he did not want to cut my dream. So he told me, okay, we're going to do that, no problem. But when I announced him, I renounced. It was like, whoa, you're coming back. And I told him, you don't think I'm going to be too big for bikini? Because now that I'm almost 15 kilos over my stage weight for bikini, when I was too big for bikini, I was like, don't you think? He told me, no, everything's going to be fine. And I was like, okay, perfect. My husband was telling me, I think you make a mistake going back to bikini because you will be huge. And I was like, I don't know. And the point is that my coach sent me a diet with just a little bit less food, just a tiny bit, like few grams of rice in less here and there. And it was 13 weeks ago already. And we did not change the diet. We did not change the cardio. Except the workout, we removed the quadriceps, that's all. I lost 8 kilos in 13 weeks.
Wow, I think your body wanted it then. Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose like with the stress of the training and pushing the food as well, Alison, that will have been something that your body's simply not been put through. You haven't been made to do any of those protocols or any of those diets and training procedures for the best part of 5-6 years. So I guess that must have felt like more reassuring for you as well to see your body respond in such a small adjustment. Has that just made that decision sort of bed in for you and be like, no, my body wants this, I want this is going to work?
Yes. Honestly, I was feeling safe again, because to reach the 70.8 kilos for wellness, I was eating so much, like I think 3,500, but it was not so much, but my weight was stable, and I was like, how I can put more food inside it? How? I cannot. And it just reduced a tiny bit. I think I am at 2,800 or 3,000, and like the weight just decreased totally, and I was like, okay, I knew it, but now I'm sure. But the point is that now I feel small. Now I feel my glutes, and I feel like I don't have glutes, which is, I know it's not true, but compared to everything I lived in 2023, all the years, I see my glutes now, and I am like, oh.
The mind games will be mad, because you were striving for that class for so long, and now in your head you have to just go the opposite direction. That's difficult.
I saw myself with the bigger lower body, and finally I get used to this. But I know now I have bigger glutes than when I was in bikini, but this is just like all the time missing.
Do you think that'll be a challenge now, Alison, again? Because you've made it very clear in terms of you appreciate the muscle that you've spent time building. You have an attachment to that almost, and you're very proud of it. How do you think psychologically it's going to be going back into bikini? Do you think that is going to persistently be a challenge for you in order to be in the bikini division long term, or do you think you might settle into it?
I think it will be a little bit less challenging, because I know I am not able to do something else. That's the first thing. But I think I still need to work on my mindset, because I always feel like I am not enough. I am not I am not how I want to look like. Actually, I just want to look like something like the Arnold Classic Ohio, the shape I presented in the finals. I want to look like this. Just like this on stage. So I know it's going to be a full frustration, because I never be lean like this again. I never be posing like this again, showing the shoulders like this again, and not that big again. So it will be like very frustrating. But finally, I know that I'm not obliged to lose the muscle. I am just obliged to hide them with food process, or with ice cream, or with just no workout, maybe if needed 1 week or 2 weeks before the stage, no warm-up also. So I know I can present the shape they want with small tricks.
This is it. Is there's so many things you can manipulate in those final couple of weeks, even on show day. Like, pumping up makes a massive difference. And I know with the top Olympians at the moment, like, some of them are told not to pump up, and even with their glutes, Amy Delgado didn't train for 3 months. So it's just like, you just got to work around it. And I think it's sounding very very promising, what's to come, Alison, because you've learned so much over these last couple of years. And I suppose, like, looking on, we're just rooting for you so much. You can almost get that redemption. Do you feel like that yourself, that you want to step on stage and just, like, I suppose, redeem yourself and just be really, really proud? Because it seemed like a few looks like you haven't been fully satisfied with.
Yes, I think that when I'm gonna come back on stage in 2024, I just really want to go on stage, not to win, but just to try to buy something for me. Like, it's I don't know if my English is correct, but I just want to get back my self-esteem and come back on stage and show to myself that I can be better, but without compromising what I want to.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why I joined Team Atlas to lose all my muscles and everything, because we were just about finding the right balance between keeping the muscle all the year round and flattening the shape before the stage with my coach. So we just find the balance. But my coach told me, like, I think you deserve better than me. You need to try with someone else, because I just want to present your best, because I know what is your best. So I am not able to hold you before going to a show. Like, I like condition, so I put you ready on stage, but this is my test and this is bodybuilding. And the point is that I don't know what is good for bikini, because for me, a bikini is not condition.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. He told me, you need to go, for example, with Team Atlas, because Team Atlas, he knows what it is. And the point is that when they speak about condition for bikini, this is not condition. This is, I don't have water retention anymore. This is not condition. When we speak about condition, this is condition. This is shredded muscle, this is condition. But for bikini, when the judge said, oh, no, she's very conditioned. No, she has no cellulite. She has a little bit of fat left, but this is not conditioned. And that's
very dry.
Yes, that's not the very dry aspect they look for in USA. And that's the part my coach was not understanding, because putting me fat on stage, for me, fat is like if he did not do his job correctly.
Yeah, I think that's the difficult thing with bikini as well. And I think over the last maybe year, 2 years, the Manions have really hammered home the fact that they want to keep bikini within within the realms of keeping it accessible. Because I think from a corporate standpoint, not just looking at the athletes, but from an accessibility standpoint, bikini is probably the biggest criteria in terms of access points. So making it unobtainable in terms of the look's not going to be productive for them. But then again, going back to your health and the fact that you hold that as a priority, Alison, I think when you're talking about condition, like you said, to take body fat off a bikini athlete, to pull that tie in there, if it's not there because it's body fat, will take weeks. If it's just a case of spilling the athlete so that they're carrying a little bit more water retention, it looks completely different. So it's interesting for the listeners to hear that differentiation, because I think you're the first person who's actually pinned it and like honed in on that's how you manipulate your body at that point, not because you've still got 8 weeks left of a diet to complete.
Exactly. And this is something that I noticed the first time I went to USA, when I won my qualification for the Olympia 2021. I've seen all the girls that I was fan of, I've seen them in real. And I was like, okay, this is 100% not what I see on Instagram. However, they are amazing. The face, everything was the same. They are so beautiful. They look so sexy. But I was like, no, this is not what I see on Instagram. Because on Instagram, they were like posing under the neon lights, pumping after a session. And I was thinking they were looking like this also in backstage or on stage, but actually not. And I tried to understand my coach this, and he was prepping me, according to what we see on the social media, because we are Europeans. So I was trying to fit how they look. And the point is that, no, they look very soft in real, but it is a totally different shape. They look like, not dry ladies that we try to put a refeed onto them, but they look like ladies who did not cut enough. That's the difference. That's how the look is beautiful on them because we see enough their muscle, but it's not like if they still
It's
have
not too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still see the small skin under the glutes with the fats that we can try to take like this, and this is it. For us Europeans, you can take your skin out of your insertion, and this is different. No, they got the small thing of fat under the glutes, and this is exactly that is making their tithing, because you have the shadow under the glutes volume. That is
It's interesting.
I was surprised because I was used to compete in Europe, so I see all the glutes shredded in Backstage with striation and everything. And when they just put their glutes in the air when putting the heels on, I see all the striation and everything. And in USA, I don't see any insertion on the girls. And I was like, how it's possible we see their insertion on stage? I was like, but
the same at amateur level as well. with European what they look for, because I have a client in Australia. I don't know if you've seen, I think they actually go even softer again in the amateurs there. As I said, I think it looks like a totally different class, and like it could be near like you said, about 8 weeks kind of difference in the look. And it's a hard one to kind of get right when you're from different parts of the world. And like you said, you're looking on social media and you're seeing different things, and it's really hard to know what to go for. I always say, like, you always look different in checking photos than you do on stage, and you kind of just need to get on stage and learn and get the feedback as well. But I suppose kind of going forward with you and shows, is it going to be a case that you want to, are you going to stay competing in the US, or are you going to kind of go back to Europe and stuff? Because I still think that I'd like to think that it is improving over here a little bit, but I do think that just the pool of athletes tend to look a little bit different. So they are, we might be a little bit harder. Is that your plan, to kind of stay here?
Yes. No, I will not stay here. I will compete in USA.
Okay.
Because I know that for now in Europe, they really like some particular girls that I really admire. I really like Valeria. I think she's beautiful. But I need to think like smart. If I want to play the game of Valeria, I need to present my version, which is 1,000 times too big for bikini. So if I want to compete against Valeria, I need to be in the same playground than her. And the point is that this is not what they want anyway in Olympia. So I will not try to transform one more time my shape for this and then shrink down, and then so I will directly start in USA, try to place, if I can, in the first sold out in USA, and just try to do 2-3 shows in USA. And then when I come back to Europe, I do a show in Europe, because I know this thing. I know that when you compete a little bit more in Europe, the European judges, they know you and they know you do good in USA, so they will watch you a little bit more than if you just compete in Europe. Exactly what happened for Ivana, for example. Ivana, she has always been incredible, even in IFBB Elite. But at the moment she started to compete more in USA, every show she was doing after in Europe, she was winning. And she even won Ashley Cadwasser, which is like crazy. It's like a legend. But I know that the European judges need to see the potential in the bikini on the USA territory before to make her win. Because the problem is that Valeria, she competes in USA, for example, but she don't place very good in USA. She plays like second call out, and this is it. So the problem is that if I want to compete and win in Europe, they will make win Valeria. I know it. I know it because I don't have a charisma. I don't have the hate. Hate. She has something galactic, and this is something I don't have. I know. I know. I'm not a good friend on stage. So I know she's a witch. Even me when I
Very
was
mysterious.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. When she come on stage, even me, I am like, oh.
Yeah, and the height, it's really eye-grabbing, I have to say. And she's not even a pro that long, but she's really shot up. But yeah, I totally get that. Like, I suppose make your mark over in the US, definitely, and then come back, maybe do a French show. That would be very exciting.
I was really disappointed she did not went to the Olympia 2023 because I was really hoping to see which place she could get this time with a little bit more fame, if I can say that. But she refused to compete because she was afraid to be a loser. But
it's difficult. I suppose I can't even imagine how difficult the pressure gets, especially when you're having such like a good run in your season. So if you're winning quite a lot of shows and the hype around you, the excitement, and everybody's watching you, I can't imagine how difficult that must be. And even for yourself, Alison, carrying yourself into an Olympia up against 50 athletes, the best in the world, like, does that ever crack you? Does that ever get to you? Or is that something that you are still learning to manage?
Actually, yes, for the Arnold, Ohio, and for the Olympia 22, sorry, I was really stressed because I was not feeling deserving to be there. So for the Ohio, I did not understood why they invite me. I was like, how is possible? So they put me last. But if one day I'm going to do the Arnold, Ohio again, it will be a pleasure because I like to be last on that stage. It was amazing.
At least you got there.
Yes, I was last, but I was like, oh, okay, that's perfect. But yes, for the Olympia 2022, I was not feeling deserving being there because of the shape. It was disgusting. But the first time I went to the Olympia, actually, I was not stressed. I was so happy to be there with totally no expectation. I was hoping nothing. I just wanted to be at least not the last, but maybe the before the last. That's all. And when they called my name in the second collab, I was like, oh, no way. Even like looking in the neighbor, like, oh. And it was crazy. But that after when I came back to Europe, they make me win straight my second qualification for the Olympia. So all the hype of the winner, like, oh, okay, I am winning. After it went down, so I realized that I was not a leader. I was not winning all the show I am doing, and that I needed maybe to just focus on being happy on stage and not wishing to win anything, because I know I will not win any show, like for example Ivana or Valeria, because with me it's like, or you like it or you hate it. And it's been like this even in IFBB Pro. It's not all the time when we win. For me it will never be. So I just try not to think about the fame. I just try to let it come from me, because I know it will. The more you put expectation, the more you fall.
Suffer.
So that's
Love that attitude.
So hypothetically for 2024, I tell in my head that I want to win a qualification for the Olympia, but I will keep going as I did in the past, not hoping anything. Just trying to think like I did for my first competition in 2016. Okay, how it can be better? And that's all. And if the qualification falls on you, you take it, and that's all.
Amazing.
Just get your love back for it as well, and get back up on stage. You know, you're a really happy place, or you know, you're so passionate about it. So we don't want to wait any longer. We want to see you back up there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but yeah, you've been a massive inspiration for both Jade and I's journeys for so long. It's been honestly a pleasure to have you on and speak about it. Like I said, we can't wait.
Make me blush.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be amazing, and like I've loved following your journey. Honestly, it's really really inspiring, and even more so now that you're moving back to bikini. We're delighted to have you back.
Thank you. Thank you
Don't
so
leave
much.
us.
I was so happy.
Yeah, good.
Amazing. Is there anything, Alison, that you want to leave just as a general sort of rule of thumb, a little bit of advice? As I say, a lot of our listeners are first-time competitors. So is there anything that you would bestow on them to sort of help them navigate sort of competing and just this journey full stop? What would you say to them?
So usually before what I lived, I would have said like, choose a good prep coach, don't cheat your diet, just trust the journey, follow the plan. But now I will try to add a more personalized message. Like, this is not because the judges don't like you or like you a lot that you are very bad or perfect person. You just have to think about that bikini is very subjective still. So for example, like depending on the country you're going to compete, depending on the judges you're going to compete, it's possible some of the judges will like you, love you, some of the judges will hate you. And the point I think is that for the first timer, they just need to take a little bit of distance on this topic, because a lot of them, when they are first timers and they succeed at their first show, they think maybe they are the best, and then after they fall down really deep. And at the opposite, when you do a first experience on stage and you fall really deep at your first show, you think that you are shit and you just have to stop because it's not made for you, which is not true, because it's exactly what I live a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, I was a shit a lot of time, but actually you just have to do it for yourself. Enjoy your journey, enjoy your improvements, and show it with dignity on stage, because this is the work that you put into to become the best person you are now, and you're going to be a best person tomorrow. So I think this is the most important, because I'm working as a posing teacher, and the problem is that they are all telling me they really want to be pro, they really want to be to the Olympia, they really want to win a show. And the point is that they really hope something that does not depend on them.
Yeah.
The only thing that depends on them, yes, it's the work they're putting and the improvement they made on the physique. And it has to please their eyes also. So they have to realize that if they are crossing the lines, it can be in supplements or it can be in the shape they are creating. If they are realizing they are going too far, they are not obliged to push. There is 1,000 federations that can fit better your choices of life. So they just have to do it for them. That's all.
Amazing. Yeah.
Lord,
I wish I'd have
you.
heard that when I started.
Yeah.
Yes, me too.
No, amazing. Honestly, really appreciate that. So nice. But Alison, before we jet off, where can everybody find you? We know that you do posing coaching as well. So do you want to give us a little bit of info on that?
Yes. So my Instagram is Allison Testu, ALLISONTESTU, and in my bio Instagram, if in case you are interested by perfectioning your posing for NPC, but also for my previous federation. I don't do advertise too much because I'm just NPC. But if you're interested to perfection your posing with me, you just have a link into my bio where you can book the online posing lessons. And if you're interested by brand, like I work with my TV, yes, also. Yes, also. And if, for example, some of the UK girls are listening, or some other Europeans, or even French, I have my posing studio next to Paris in France. So if they just want to come for doing a one-on-one session, it's
that'd be so cool. Mini holiday on prep, always a nice thing.
I'm done.
Invite to Paris.
Come to Paris, but not now. It's freezing.
Yeah, next summer.
Wait until spring. Wait till spring.
Yeah. Yes, better.
Amazing,
Oh,
amazing.
well,
Thank you so
thank
much for
you.
your time, Alison. Really, and best of luck with it all. We're going to be
Yeah.
rooting for you and keeping an eye as always. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much to you too.